Let me see if I can bring this one on here. In the broadcast, just remove this destination from the broadcast, then re-add it. No. Let's see. All right, y'all. Welcome to the broadcast. Let me see if we can get this Facebook connection going. Right now, it's not bringing my Facebook people up. Let's see. Black people have a problem. Let me go ahead and add it. Save changes. Come on. For some reason, Facebook is not being added on here, ladies and gentlemen. So just stand by. Smart Christian, what's going on? Can you hear me well, sir? Can you hear me good on the mic, Corey? Hopefully you can. I don't know why Facebook is tripping. Try creating a new broadcast or just remove this destination from the broadcast, then re-add it. I did that. Let's see. Stand by, y'all. Because for some reason, Facebook is tripping once again. Everything was set and ready to go. But of course, you know how that goes. Let's go. Let's do this. Where is it at? Nope. Nope. Let's get out of that one. Let's get out of that one. Let's get out of that one. All right. Those who are on Facebook, you may be disappointed because for some reason it is not allowing Facebook to come on. Let me try this again. Post is created on Facebook. No, cancel. Let's do it again. All right. Let me see. Facebook requires you to go live before 12:09 p.m. If you don't, they'll delete your stream. Not ready, edit the start time. I've been ready. I'm ready to go live now. So let me see why it's doing this. I'm going to try to let's see. This is crazy. It says the broadcast is live, but it's not allowing anyone to go live. And it's just like that. Just when I'm trying to get things ready, and things were ready, having a little technical difficulty. Just bear with me, Facebook, YouTube people. Thank y'all for joining. Just trying to get the things set up here. For some reason, YouTube is not allowing, or Facebook rather, is having some problems getting connected and getting on. So I'm going to try this because it says, look like this broadcast was deleted on Facebook, and it wasn't. Try creating a new broadcast or just remove this destination from the broadcast, then re-add it. Okay, so I'm removing that one. And it's not allowing Facebook to be added. So what's going to happen is this. Those of you who are on Facebook who may be watching, you may have to go over to YouTube and watch it there on YouTube. So let me just go ahead and get started with this. All right. So apologies for those of you who are actually not able to watch this live. If you're on Facebook, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to send maybe the YouTube link to the Facebook channel, and then that way you'll be able to join the discussion and watch the live there. So let me just do that. Again, bear with me, everyone. Little technical difficulties at the last minute, at the very last minute, which is not a surprise. It happens, and just give me a moment, and we'll get this thing going in just a second. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and share the video and make sure that everyone will be able to watch this live. And make sure that everyone will be let me mute this one here. And just hold tight, everyone. Hold tight. I'm going to send it here. Technical difficulties on Facebook. Let me put this in here. The link to watch on YouTube. All right, we're gonna get this thing started. There, sending it there, ladies and gentlemen. Those you can watch it, can watch the live there. All right. So again, sorry about that. Apologies for the delay, but you know it happens. It happens. All right. So let me do that. Let me clear this out. Let me clear this out, and we'll get started. All right, y'all. So welcome. Sorry for the delay. My apologies, everyone, for the technical difficulties. I am your host, Pastor SaikoWoods, and thank you so much for joining us here on today. I have a special guest here on this chat on the live today. He's waiting in the green room. You do not want to miss this discussion. It is definitely going to be worth your time, and it is going to be beneficial for all of you, because what we're going to be talking about today, it is important for all of us to give our attention to. All right. Let me do this as well. For those who want to support this ministry financially, please, first of all, do not send any donations through YouTube, because given what's been going on and with the algorithms and things like that, it wouldn't be surprising to me if I get shut down and demonetized. So if you'd like to support the ministry financially, you can do so through PayPal or through Cash App. PayPal, SaikoWoods@yahoo.com, or through Cash App, $Saiko, SAIKO, Woods with an S. Or also, if you'd like to do it through Zelle, you can do that as well. And just reach out to me via email, and I will send my contact number. That way you can send whatever support you would desire to do so. BCV Gear, Book Chapter Verse, y'all know how to do that. That's through the Teespring link. I'll put all the information at the bottom of the comment section below. But listen, without any further ado, let me bring this gentleman on. Some of you may not know him, some of you will, and some of you do. But at the end of this live, you cannot say that you have not been informed. You cannot say that you are without excuse, because you would not be. All right. So without any further ado, let me welcome my friend that I just met. Very like-minded individual. You got a lot of things in common, and hopefully at the end of this discussion, you have a lot of things in common with this gentleman as well too. Mr. Kevin Jenkins, welcome. Hey, welcome, man. Sorry for the delay, man. We was good until I tried to link up the Facebook thing, and it just started.
Hey, listen, I'm surprised you're even allowed to go this far with me on your show.
I know, huh? Hey, man, but I appreciate it. Look, we're gonna see how long we're gonna be on this live before they come snatch us up out of this joint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they will start snatching.
Yeah.
You put my name up, You might as well just run for cover.
Hey, that's why I didn't either, huh? You see, because we talked about that. We said, yeah, I'm just gonna let it be a surprise on them. But man, listen, I definitely appreciate you for coming on. Hopefully everybody can hear me well. Those of you who are on YouTube, hey, tag a friend, tag someone right now. Those who are watching this live, tag someone. If you're on Facebook, send them that link that I just dropped in the on my Facebook page. So that way, people who are trying to come on live through Facebook, they can just come right over to the YouTube family and join this discussion. But hopefully, everybody can hear me well, and we're gonna get this conversation started. So, Kevin, tell everybody about yourself. Let people know a little bit about what you do, your organization, and what brings you here to this live today, man.
Well, thanks for introducing me. Kevin Jenkins. I'm the CEO of Urban Global Health Alliance. I'm a senior partner of Freedom Travel Alliance. Urban Global Health Alliance has a very, very simple mission: to change the culture of health in America through public policy, education, and advocacy. That's what sustains us. That's the work we're doing. We realized when we created this institution a year and a half ago that our communities were not only chronically ill, but they were ill-informed. They were ill-informed about what was getting ready to be put in place that was going to be driving a narrative of perpetual slavery, track and tracing, mandatory vaccines, this whole narrative that Black Americans were dying more than anybody else in America, which was trying to frame this narrative that we're sick and we should be taking this experimental biologic that doesn't take transmission. There will be no informed consent. And by the way, if you don't take it, we're going to take your food stamps away from you. We're going to take your Medicare care away from you. We're going to take all of your benefits because it's all about control. It's not about your health. So when we created Urban Global Health Alliance, it was on the heels of some of the greatest actionable items that this group of tyrannical people have. And that is to take your religious rights and your not just your religious rights, but also take your rights to your medical rights, your medical freedoms away from you. And that was a concern for me.
Yeah.
I started realizing earlier on that, wait a minute, they're talking about taking our medical freedoms away from us, our religious freedoms away from us. They're taking our body autonomy away from us. And they're going to trap Black Americans to perpetual poverty with this new system that they're outlining on your in the financial area, in the education area, in the government area. And now it's being driven in our community by people that look like us.
Come on, man.
So you got Black Americans, modern day slave catchers that are running our governments, are representing our governments that are working hand in hand with, the corporate titans. I call them corporate titans, corporate thieves. People that believe that they have the right to control our bodies, control our breath. And now they're working hand in hand with these people to put us in perpetual poverty. You have the entertainment class. You have the pseudo-intellectual class. You have the political class. You have the Black so-called media class. They have all now been in alignment to destroy the black space, the Black world, the Black community.
Yeah.
And it's happening in real time. I think I hope they're paying attention to this. You have Black entertainers telling you to take an experimental biologic that doesn't stop transmission.
Man, say that again. Say that again,
Kevin. You have Black Black doctors, that's not PhDs, but Black medical doctors.
Yeah.
They're telling you it is okay to take an experimental biologic that is clearly going to impact your life, clearly going to impact your children's life, clearly going to impact you economically. And they're telling you to take it, trust the science, when no one's had a discussion about the science but us.
Right.
We're the only ones talking about the science because we have the right science. We understand it. We understand what's getting ready to happen. This is not about your health, because if that's the case, we still wouldn't be the most chronically ill people on the planet. It's not about your health, because if it was about our health, we'd be talking about positive health outcomes for our community. If it was about our health, we would be having a deeper conversation about why we have so many Black boys, challenged with autism right now. If it was about health, we would be discussing why we have so many Black young women that are morbidly obese. If it was about our health, we wouldn't have so many Black women in our community suffering from chronic illness.
Come on.
So my issue is it's not about health. So when I see Black Americans out there wholesaling this garbage, it infuriates me because they forget our history. Just 60 years ago, Seiko, you and I couldn't eat in a diner because we were unclean. Just 60 years ago, you and I couldn't swim with others because we were deemed unclean. Just 60 years ago, you and I couldn't travel in certain spaces in this country because we were unclean.
Facts.
Just 100 and some odd years ago, you and I couldn't walk from one master's house to another master's house until we had our papers.
Come on, man.
Just 60 years ago, you and I couldn't even play sports in certain arenas because we were deemed unclean. So when I see Black Americans promoting the slave passport, I'm outraged by that. These new wave Black Americans need to disappear. I said, because the real Black Americans that I grew up with, they must have been body snatched and put on another planet.
For real.
Because these Black Americans that I'm listening to out here that are still wearing the mask of shame, that are masking up their children, that are allowing their children to be destroyed socially, that's not reading the science, that's buying into this conspiracy narrative. When they call me a person of conspiracy, I say, well, wait, you have to understand, the greatest conspiracy is ignorance.
Come on, bro.
So what I'm looking at from a Black male perspective, a Black man perspective, someone that has invested in this community, someone that understands this process, when I see Black Americans that look like me, wholesaling that garbage, I'm like, it's war now. It is absolute war. We need to chase them out of our communities. Your Black mayors, majority of your Black pastors, majority of your Black local elected officials, majority of your people that you have state senators and national federal senators, federal congressmen, they're bought into this. They're lying to you.
And they're the real Sambos, Kevin. They're the real Sambos.
Well, no, they are the real Sambos. They're not Uncle Tom's, because nobody ever read the book. I tell people, if you read the book, Uncle Tom was the hero of the book.
Facts.
I said, people, stop using their language, trying to define something that you don't understand. But here's the other thing that I think is happening now. Because 60 to 70% of Black Americans understand what medical apartheid really looks like, what they're trying to do now is coerce them. By the way, if you're in prison, we're going to let you out if you take this experimental biologic. If you are living in poverty, we're going to give you an extra $1,000 a month for you to turn your bodies over to us so we can control you. The Black American in this country, their body has been the most commoditized body for corporations in this country since the inception of this country.
You better say it again.
That's what slavery was.
Facts.
So for me, as a Black man in this space, having this conversation about how to build a healthier community, how to build a healthy society, I'm really excited to say that in the last several months, I've seen a big pivot change.
Yeah.
I've seen Black Americans digging a little deeper. I've seen Black Americans asking more critical questions. I see African Americans say, I took the experimental biologic, but I regret it. I see Black Americans say, why are they taking my jobs away from me because I don't want to take an experimental biologic? Why are they forcing my kids to take tests that are pushing out more false positives than anything? Why is the hospitals now that I used to take my children and my grandfather, my grandmother, and my mother, now they're the new death camps in this country? Man. So for me, Black Americans need to pay more attention to the present reality in front of them.
Yes, sir.
And stop and break this dream spell that they have with political parties.
Yes.
So if I talk like this, I'm a Trump supporter. What I love about that, it just goes to show you how sick these people are.
Yeah, man.
How sick they are. And we have to understand that there's a group of sick people in our community that we need to be pushing out.
That's right.
I was in Georgia a week ago. I think it's been a week now. And I'm doing Georgia, I'm doing LA and New York. And the whole concept of is to introduce medical apartheid into the consciousness of Black Americans so they can understand what it means.
Come on, man.
So they can understand the history of the Black American in this country. It was just not about slavery. It's about a group of people having total control of who we are as human beings. Yes. And now you got Black Americans turning our kids over to these people. You got Black Americans walking around like ghosts, wearing masks. Even if you tell them science, they believe Fauci over you, Saiko. They believe Gates over you, Saiko. They believe the CDC over you, Saiko. They believe the FDA over you, Saiko. These are the same institutions.
Yes, sir.
The same institutions that have destroyed the Black body and worked tirelessly to destroy the Black body. And we're out here promoting that.
Since day one.
So you know what I call those Black people? Modern day slave catchers.
Whew, bro.
That's what they are.
Listen, for those who just joining, get these likes up. Get these likes up. Go ahead, tag a friend, tag an enemy, tag somebody that don't even like me. I don't care. We want everybody to get informed. Get this information, because at the end of the day, you're not going to sit here and say you didn't know. If you came on this live, you know now. I'm joined by my guest, Kevin Jenkins. We're talking about issues affecting the Black community. We titled it "Black People, We Have a Problem," because we do have a problem. And can I go further and say this though, Kevin? It's more so self-induced, because nowadays we're not dealing with, our ancestors didn't have the information that we got. We got information at our fingertips. Listen, if you want to know anything about anything, all you got to do is to go through just search through it. And listen, not just search, but you got to do your homework, do your research. Nowadays, it seems like our people are becoming lazy when it comes to getting truth. I'm like, bruh, right now, like I'm switching over. I'm slowly migrating over to Telegram, Kevin.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah. Because now I'm able to speak more freely, and so I'm trying. I'm going through Telegram. I'm going through the Gab. I'm going through what was the other one? It starts with an R. Rumble. Thank you. Right. Going to those platforms, and in the process, I also am in the process of creating my own website, because I want to control my own content. I want to control my own stuff. You know what I'm saying? But since I'm a full-time truck driver, most of my days are spent over the road 5 days a week. So what I do on weekends is I try to put out information as much as I can. But at the end of the day, though, bro, there is no reason why we as a people should be this ignorant. It shouldn't be, especially when it comes to what's been happening to our people since day one. And you mentioned the term medical apartheid. And ironically, when you mentioned that, I'm reading a book by Harriet Washington. Mm-hmm. Bruh, can I just read an excerpt for people to understand? You already know where I'm about to go, Kevin. You already know where I'm about to go, bruh. I gotta put them up on game, man. I gotta put them up on game real quick. This is an excerpt, okay? This is in chapter 11 of the book, Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present. Did y'all hear that title? I'm gonna read it again because y'all didn't get me. It says Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I even read a little bit of the excerpt, Kevin, let me just ask you a question, Kevin. Did we talk about me reading this book before we came live?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. You don't have a script that I gave you or anything like that about what we're going to be talking about, do you?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
There have been no talking points. There have been nothing that we scripted. It's going straight off the dome like two lyricists in hip hop, right? Okay. So what I'm about to read ties into what my man just said. Okay. So bear with me, y'all. Bear with me. Get them likes up. Tag a friend. Tag an enemy. Let's get it. Here it is. Quote. This is what Harriet Washington said. Quote, American medicine has not spared Black children in its very worst abuses in the name of scientific research. This chapter will discuss some of the many experiments that recruited Black children primarily or exclusively, that stigmatized Black children and whose agendas were specifically, here it is, Kevin, racial. These have harmed not only children, but also the image of all African Americans. Over a decade ago, Isaac became ensnared in such a research initiative tailored specifically for children of color. Between 1992 and 1997, New York's State Psychiatric Institute and Columbia University's Lowenstein Center for the Study of and Prevention of Childhood Disruptive Behavior Disorders conducted several research studies that sought to establish a link between genetics and violence. They performed experiments upon at least 126 boys, most of whom were between the ages of 6 and 10, utilizing the drug fenfluramine. If y'all don't know what fenfluramine is, pull it up. I'm still reading. Columbia described a population of boys who were given the drug as 44% Black and 56% Hispanic. but this is misleading. Hispanic is an ethnic category encompassing people of white, black, and mixed race, and, quote, all the Hispanic boys lived in the Washington Heights area and were black Dominicans, end quote, observed Rudy M. Brown, Cherise Johnson's lawyer. The boys were all black, and this was by design. The experimental protocol specifies that eligible participants must be, quote, African American or Hispanic. Kevin, am I missing anything so far what I'm reading in this book?
No, you're doing well. I have the book.
Okay, let me continue. It says, and specifically, hear me, y'all, and specifically excludes whites from participation. And this is footnoted, by the way. In 1998, I asked psychiatrist Timothy Walsh, MD, who headed the Institutional Review Board, the IRB, that approved the study. Why? He explained that the protocol simply reflected the ethnic component of Columbia Medical Center's nearby catchment area from which it drew its subjects. But this is untrue. Not only are there numerous white enclaves in Washington Heights, but some of the black boys, including Isaac Johnson, were drawn from as far away as Brooklyn. The boys had something in common beside their dark skins. As Cherise Johnson suspected, they had been selected because their older brothers had had contact with the probation system. Although it is illegal to breach the confidentiality of juvenile court records in this matter, a Department of Probation internal memo dated August 30th, 1991 states, quote, we are participating in a research project being conducted by Professor Gail Wasserman of Columbia University regarding younger brothers of male offenders in an effort to identify early predictors of antisocial behavior. The probation department identified them to researchers. Researchers sought to investigate whether violent behavior might run in families and to identify a biological basis for such behavior. The researchers claimed that the drug fenfluramine could suggest a genetic basis for aggressive or violent behavior in boys because it is a precursor to the neurotransmitter serotonin. Abnormal serotonin levels are implicated in many psychological states. Administering fenfluramine once or for a very short period normally causes one's serotonin levels to increase, which in turn increases the amount of hormone prolactin in the blood. The researchers measured the blood prolactin to indirectly assess how much serotonin levels rose. But if prolactin levels increased too dramatically in response, this suggested Columbia researchers a biological brain dysfunction that may signal a tendency toward aggression. On the strength of this tenuous connection, the investigators claimed that by monitoring how precipitously the boys' prolactin levels increased after an infusion of fenfluramine, they could measure the boys' propensity for aggressive behavior. Just bear with me, y'all, because I'm going to over this point. Why not simply measure the boys' serotonin levels? This might not reveal pathology because the blood serotonin concentration might not reflect brain levels. Prolactin, however, is produced only in the central nervous system. But Wasserman and her colleagues claimed that another risk factor fed the boys' purported violent propensities. Here it is: bad parenting. Black boys were fated to be the violent products of, quote, parental psychopathology, end quote, or, quote, adverse rearing environments, end quote. Why? According to the researchers, because of their poverty and their ethnicity. To bolster this deterministic claim, researchers interviewed parents to establish their worthiness or lack thereof. But the interviewers were hardly blind or objective. They knew that the researchers sought evidence of pathological child rearing and of aggressive or violent propensities. As Cherise Johnson recalled, quote, on the campus of Columbia University, we were subjected to a series of intimate, degrading questions, tests, and interviews. The experimenters also took advantage of my fears for the well-being of my 16-year-old son to intrude on the privacy of my home. After such interviews, psychological assessments, and physical screenings, the researchers winnowed the original 126 study candidates to 66 boys, including Isaac, in several related fenfluramine studies. They did this by carefully selecting, only those boys who were perfectly healthy, both physically and mentally, and did not display signs of questionable behavior. 34 of the boys in Isaac's group were given fenfluramine. Now, Kevin, I'm just bear with me, bro, because what you said is tying into this part in this paragraph of the book that I want people to know that this is not something that you just made up and that you're just talking about. It is documented. Quote, if the drug fenfluramine sounds familiar, it is because it constituted half of the notoriously cardiotoxic fen-phen weight loss combination introduced to the U.S. market in 1973, associated with heart valve damage and deaths among dieters in the 1990s. This is all documented, ladies and gentlemen. By the time the FDA banned it in 97, concern was also circulating among physicians about the brain damage that low doses of fenfluramine induced in experimental animals. Medical reports of these injuries circulated well before the FDA ban and during Columbia's studies. Let me just scroll on down. Bear with me. Here it is. In the cases of Isaac and others, scientists wish to discover whether these boys shared their brother's purported violent tendencies in the so-called mean gene. To accomplish this, the researchers did much more than simply give the boys a dose of fenfluramine. More than a dozen of the boys were withdrawn from all their medications for a month, including medications for such life-threatening chronic conditions as asthma. For 4 days, they ate a special low monoamine diet, basically a low protein diet, because monoamines affect serotonin levels. The boys were hospitalized the night before, and once they were out of sight of their parents, food was withheld for the duration of the experiment the next morning. Water was withheld as well. At 8:30 a.m., physicians inserted a catheter and gave each boy fenfluramine hydroxychloride by mouth. Fenfluramine had never been given to children under 12 before this experiment began. 90% of adults given a single dose experienced side effects ranging from anxiety, fatigue, headache, lightheadedness, difficulty concentrating, visual impairment, diarrhea, nausea, irritability, to a feeling of being high. Up to 30% of adults who take fenfluramine develop heart valve damage, and it can trigger a life-threatening form of high blood pressure called pulmonary hypertension. One boy complained of severe headaches. Others complained of lightheadedness, but were not released. Beginning at 10 a.m., blood was drawn hourly, hourly from the boys' catheters and tested to determine fluctuations in serotonin. Here it is right here. And I'm just going to scroll down to the end. These scientific errors were legion, but it is difficult to know where to begin in listing the ethical outrages of this study. And it is very hard to believe that it was conducted fairly recently by one of the nation's most prestigious universities. The experiment is rife with instances of undue inducement, from baiting children with $25 toy certificates to luring their parents with $100. Do you hear me? With $100, no insignificant sum, on the streets of Washington Heights and Bed-Stuy. I'm just going to stop there.
Well, what you have just outlined in those several paragraphs is what it looks like to be an exploited class.
Thank you.
What it looks like to be a class of people that are coerced into being the experiments, right, for other groups, in particular Big Pharma. Because Big Pharma, the CDC, the World Health Organization, the FDA, NIH, all of them, yep, all of these institutions, their primary focus is to make profit off of the body. But when it comes to the Black American, it is to commoditize off of our body. When I say commoditization, clearly Black community for over several decades have been the experimental playground for all of the things that they believe will cause the depopulation that they want for Black Americans and Africans all around the world.
Yes.
And that's always been their motivation. We are the most experimented, most exploited group of people because they see us as a bottom caste. And all of the decisions that they're making now is directly, it's pointed directly at us.
Yeah.
We're the problem for them.
Yeah.
Their depopulation program, you know, because people are hijacking all of our language now, but on the basis of genocide, their focus is very, 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 very narrow. We need to eradicate ourselves of our world of these people. Yes. That's what Margaret Sanger did. That's what Margaret Sanger did when she hired Du Bois, when she hired Bethune, when she hired the Black church, when she hired the Black pseudo-intellectual, when she hired some of the Black, you know, entertainment class. Not all of them. Now,
yeah.
That was a different entertainment class when we was growing up. Right. But they all took the money to tell Black Americans to abort their children.
Yep.
They're now doing the same thing.
Yes.
And the Black church, and I can go into this whole narrative about the Black church because I'm very curious of why we still call it the Black church. It's not the Black church that your grandmother and my grandmother and grandfather and we are descendant of slaves, but it's not the Black church that came out of that came out of Reconstruction.
Right.
The Black church that we grew up in was the church that taught us that to believe in a liberating Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Right. To believe in a Christ that is linked to something greater than who we are, so we can go out and do the things to grow the nation that we needed to be within a nation. Within a nation. So think about this for a second. So back then, at that moment, the Black church was motivated by what? Ownership, education, family, and their politics was focused on their group, not everybody else, their group. Right. How do we advance our people? How do we play a more active role in politics? How do we play a active role in voting? When we went to vote, we voted for us, not somebody else's power, not somebody else's wealth.
Facts. We
were not agents of those organizations. We were agents of our own voice and our own power. We didn't have to be empowered. We already had the power. So when I hear people say the Black church, I'm like, well, what Black church are you talking about? Because the Black church that still identifies themselves in the spirit of the Black church that helped to build this country, that helped to fight every war, that actually built an economic engine to help this country evolve, right, before the compromise of 1877. What's happening now is you have Black Americans that have forgotten that. And the Black church no longer is the church that represents us. They represent the government. They don't represent us anymore. They work hand in hand with the government. So I was saying, Seiko, that they closed down their churches and zoomed in Jesus, and now they're opening up their churches to sell the devil's product. We should not be going into those churches. We should not be going into those mosques. There should be a bigger debate. We should have had this debate. We should have talked about medical apartheid. We should have talked about the criminalization and the commoditization of the Black body. We should have had a deeper conversation. And for you to suggest, because I'm saying that you are wrong, that's something wrong with me. Well, that's the same thing they said about Malcolm. That's the same thing they said about Marty. That's the same thing they said about Ida Wells. That's the same thing they said about all of us that stood up against the tyranny of our time.
Yeah.
For Black Americans to be supporting this, even thinking about it, something is wrong with us. So now let me just deal with this. Let me just back up for a second.
Sure.
Because you read something from Medical Apartheid that was written by a Black woman. You don't hear from her much, but this book is one of the most important books of our time, Medical Apartheid.
Yeah.
And the reason why we named our tour Medical Apartheid, because we wanted Black Americans, young Black Americans, to get a deeper understanding of what real racism looks like, institutional racism, and what real medical apartheid looks like. Because we're not in our homes anymore. We don't teach in our homes anymore. So sometimes when we do these shows, we talk about science all the time. Now, I believe our science is absolutely correct. What the spike protein is doing to the body, that this experimental biologic doesn't stop transmission, that we have therapeutics that we've been using for decades that will help us with these particular viruses. Viruses aren't going anywhere. We have 352 million viruses in our body. SARS-1, now SARS-2, all of these viruses that all of our parents, you know, had beaten and built a healthy immune system. We never had these problems. This particular virus was cooked up, gaining function, and we should be talking about that. This is not a natural virus. This is a gain and function virus to spike it up so it can have an even worse impact on us and as far as our health is concerned. So that's a criminal act.
Yes, sir.
I don't understand why we're still talking about this. This is a criminal act. This is not a man. I mean, this is not a natural virus. This is a man-made virus that have killed millions of people. And will continue to kill millions of people.
Yes, sir.
So there's a book that I have in my library here, and it's called Negro Project by Bruce Flowery. Margaret Sanger's diabolical, duplicitous, dangerous, disastrous, and deadly plan for Black America.
I'm putting it up in the chat. What's the title again? Negro Project.
The Negro Project.
The author's name.
Bruce Flowery, Fleury.
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 Oh, you are okay.
Okay, so let me just. So you got to go back and look at this from a historical perspective, and it will put things in context for you.
Yeah.
It will show you what genocide looks like. It will show you how it's been planned for several decades. It will show you that this is about depopulation. It will show you that it's about creating a sick society so they can profit off it. It will show you what's happening with the banking industry right now, what's happening with the education cartel right now, what's happening with our community leaders right now, what's happening with our government. So in this book, it says it right here. We should hire 3 or 4 colored ministers, preferably with social service backgrounds and with engaging personalities. The most successful educational approach to the Negro is through a religious appeal.
Ooh.
We don't want the world to go out that we don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members.
That sounds like Margaret Sanger, bro.
Margaret Sanger. Now, but you have to understand that it is the same exact plan. She's dancing in hell because she said, we finally got him.
Yep.
So Bill Gates, father, chairman of Planned Parenthood. Bill Gates, father of depopulation. The CDC, which is a vaccine company which indemnified from harming us because of the 1986 vaccine law that indemnifies all of the vaccine industry from damaging us. So when we argue about it, they call us anti-something. And I'm telling everyone that's listening to me, when someone calls you anti-vaxxer, that's a derogatory term. That's the equivalent of calling me an N-word.
Okay.
Okay, so let me explain it to you.
Fair.
These parents
were
not anti-vax. They believed they took their kids and took their sons and daughters to the hospital to get vaccinated.
Come on, man.
They weren't anti-anything. They started to question the science when so many kids were damaged.
Come on.
When so many kids were damaged. So what did they do? The industry said, oh, they're anti-something. Well, my question is, my response is that I'm anti-anything that takes my body sovereignty away from me.
Come on, man.
I'm anti-anything that takes my ability to protect my child from a tyrannical system. I'm anti-anything that wants to put me back in bondage. I'm anti-anything that wants to take informed consent away from me. I'm anti-child trafficking. I'm anti-anything that questions my masculinity and wants to destroy my masculinity as a Black man in this country. I'm anti-anybody that wants to do what? Put my group in perpetual poverty.
Yes.
But the problem with Black Americans is that we keep looking at the barbarian at the gate because that's what they want us to look at. We need to look at the barbarian inside the gate that looks like us. We need an internal war in the Black community. And if we don't, we will die as a group of people. Our ancestors fought for us for nothing. Our ancestors fought in every war for nothing. The great civil rights leaders, the great leaders of our time that fought, died in poverty, they would have done all of this for nothing. Black Americans have lost their way. They are unconscious. And let me tell you why we're unconscious. Because we've lost our connectedness to God. And when you lose your connectedness to God, you lose your ability to see God's face. And when you lose your ability to see God's face, you lose your God courage. So once you lose your connection, and see, because we think we're connected. If we were connected, we would understand this much better.
Yeah.
So that's my concern about the Black American. But I do believe at this present moment, something's happening. Like Bob Marley said, there's something mystic in the air. Mm-hmm. You know, some of us will die, but trust me, we're going to win. There's something mystic. Don't ask me why.
Yeah.
So listen to the song, you're like, whoa, okay, I get that. Some of us want to be slaves, but the ones that don't want to be slaves, we're going to have to fight with everything in our heart, everything in our body, everything in our spirit to fight back. Because what's getting ready to happen now, you have never seen before.
Definitely impressive.
You have never seen it before. So when people say, oh, it's a conspiracy, when we say that it's 99.9% recoverable, when we say is a conspiracy, when they're giving our senior citizens and people that are going to the hospitals that have the flu or have pneumonia or have some respiratory issues, they're intubating them and giving them remdesivir, which kills people, not zinc, not vitamin C, not anything that will build the immune system, not oxygen, nothing.
Yeah.
When you go into the hospital, you're going to die.
That's right.
And then they judge it on a test that's inconclusive, that pushes out false positives every day.
Yep.
Because of the cycle threshold.
That's right.
And in the Black community, the cycle threshold is above 30 because they want to keep you trapped in fear and poverty. They want to be able to control your health outcomes. They want to tell you, oh, no, you shouldn't do this, you should do that. And every Black doctor on this planet that's not standing out for that, guess what? They are war criminals.
Yep.
Because you know what? They never want to have a conversation with you, Seiko. They never want to have a debate. They never want to do anything. They'll just tell you, I'm the doctor, I know better. No, you're the doctor and you know nothing.
Thank you.
And we have been turning our body over to these white coats for a long time. Now, it's interesting. We fought against the white hoods with the white coats, and now we got to fight with the white coats that look like us and the white coats that don't look like us. People all around the world are dying from this experimental biologic.
Yeah, man.
We can't talk about it because we're right. Now they're saying you can't go into a restaurant if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. And I'm going to tell everybody that's listening to me. If you are a Black American,
come on,
and you go into a restaurant and show your slave passport, you're a slave.
Facts.
If you are a Black American and you go in and you promote a slave passport, you're a modern day slave catcher.
That's facts, bro.
If you are a Black American and you in your pulpit and you in our government, which we fund, which we finance, which we fund, which we vote for, which we give them power, and you're lying to your people, you're a modern day slave catcher.
That's facts, man.
Do not listen to them.
That's facts.
We should stop listening to them
and get out.
What I'm afraid of is that we don't want to deal with that. That's why we keep dealing with this illusion of race. So this is what I say to every Black American that talks to me about race. I say, well, what is it? You see how quiet it is? So explain to me race. Because I need to understand.
Right.
So when you want to talk about systemic racism, structural racism, Jim Crow, all the things that we understand, because the radical left has stolen all of our civil rights narrative and wrap it into something horrible.
You have, man.
So they're now saying, oh, if you are stopped from going into a restaurant and Black from being unvaxxed, that's not racism. That's not segregation.
That's an insult, man.
That's not Jim Crow. No, but you got Black Americans.
Yeah.
I call them what did I call them earlier? The new wave Black Americans.
Yeah.
I call them new wave Black Americans. They're out there wholesaling that nonsense. But what they don't understand, we're not buying it. Black people are not buying it. They're seeing it. When I was in Georgia, there was 500 Black Americans asking questions. When I go to LA, it's going to be 500 Americans, 600, 700 Black Americans asking questions. When I go back to California again, and I go to New York, they're all asking questions. They're pushing back now.
Yeah.
The mandatory, when they say mandatory, I want you to say mandatory means slavery. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So all of your corporations that are saying they're pushing mandatory experimental biologics, you do have a defense. You know what your defense is? It's to say no. And you have another defense. Let them fire you because you're going to win.
Say that again, man.
Let them fire you. Don't quit. Don't quit,
yo.
When they fire you, you're going to win. Now, this is what people say. How am I going to take care of my family? How am I going to do that? Well, I got some fairly bad news for you. If you sign on to that crap, next year they're going to say, well, you Black and you fat and you got diabetes and you got AIDS and I don't like the way you look, right? And we want you to take some more of this poison and we're going to fire you anyway. Yeah. So if you don't fight back and if you don't stand up, the civil rights movement and coming out of slavery, we fought back. But we didn't fight back the way they thought. We fought back and went to build a new world for ourselves.
Yeah.
A new community for ourselves.
Yeah.
So we didn't fight the way they wanted to. And when it was time to vote, we didn't vote for them. We voted for us.
But see,
what I'm saying now is
that's right. Stay right there. Because see, you mentioned voting like a couple of times. That's the problem, Kevin. Black people are voting for a party that never cared about them.
Well, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. Black people are voting against their own self-interest. See, it's very interesting if you're in a two-party system. And I want to get back on this. Let me stay. I'm going to
go ahead. Yeah, okay.
So when I hear Black Americans talking about race, and when I hear people talking about Black Lives Matter, I am stunned by it all, because when you say Black Lives Matter, right? When I'm saying, wait, hold, time out. No. When you say matter, that means you're asking for permission to exist. See, I believe Black lives have value.
Yeah.
See, when you say value, that's something different. That says something. You're not asking for permission.
Yeah.
You're not asking to be empowered. You have the power.
Yeah.
But what we've done is we've given our power to groups of other groups to build their wealth, so they can transfer wealth, so they can control the economy. They can distribute what they control everything. We control nothing.
Right.
So that's why they're coercing us now. That's why they're going after our jobs in public housing, our jobs in government, our job. They say, well, you know what? You can't work here because you are not vaccinated. And I hear Black people saying, oh, I got to go get the vaccine. And I'm like, oh, okay, go get it. But now let me ask you a question. When you get sick, because you will.
Yeah.
Who's going to take care of you?
Right.
You won't have insurance anymore. You won't have anything. So you're not going to fight for your body autonomy. You're not going to fight for your body sovereignty. You're not going to fight for your children. You're not going to stand up for your human rights. You're not going to stand up for your civil rights. You're not going to stand. You're just going to deliver your body back to your slave master. Are you kidding me? So the Muslim community, the Christian community, until they are all out in the public square with us, you should run away from them because they're preaching the wrong theology.
Yeah.
Your Black doctors that are telling you it's all right to take an experimental biologic, say, you know what, we need to have a bigger conversation. Are you willing to have that conversation in public with Kevin Jenkins, Seiko, or anybody else? They're going to say no, because the healthcare system has changed now. They're controlled and managed by what? The same oligarchs that are pushing this death on us right now.
That's right.
So we're thinking about their short-term life at our destruction.
That's right.
So the vaccine is not about making you healthy, because it's not. This narrative, this experimental biologic, is about controlling you, turning you into a slave, turning your bodies into profit centers for their wealth. Now, I keep it this simple sometimes, because when I elongate the narrative about science, people get confused.
Right.
So you got to do your homework. But when I'm telling you, slavery is upon your door. So when you say race, I say, well, let me ask you a question, because this is an important question. Did you just not have a so-called Black president? They said, yeah. I said, okay. Did you not have a Black U.S. Attorney General?
Come on.
They said, yeah. Did you just not have a Black Homeland Defense Secretary? Yeah.
Come on, man.
Did you not have someone working in the UN that was Black? Yeah. So where's this? What are you talking about? Because with all of that power we had 8 years, we could have accommodated these narratives and done some things to turn our communities into emerging markets and grow it economically where we have ownership, not because, we still are using the word minority.
Right.
We're still, when you're in Black government where we minority, we have to give them a set aside when I'm the majority. What the hell? So now you have to understand how I can come from this perspective. Yeah. I worked in government. I lobbied in DC. I lobbied at the local level. My family, we're developers. My wife has been elected over 20 some odd years. My family is a Black family that worked for Black people. Majority of the Black elected officials you see in this country, we should run them out of our communities. They slave catchers.
Come on, man.
Guess what? Where are they right now? Where are they? You know what they're doing? They're telling you to wear the mask of shame. They're telling you we're going to put you on universal income.
Man.
They're telling you to continue to turn your body over to be the experiment and most exploited class in America. And what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
Now they're telling you that if you are not with us, we're going to punish you.
Yeah.
We're going to censor you. We're going to take your ability to move. What is that, Saiko? That's slavery.
Slavery. Straight to the point. Straight up.
It's slavery. So they're using the healthcare industry to enslave us. And they've been planning this for years. They've been writing documents about how to fool Black Americans to believe that they're the sickest people on earth. And how do we do that? We use the Black entertainer. How do we do that? We use the Black pastor. How do we do that? We use I call them the Negro whisperers, and that's in government working hand in hand for them.
Yeah.
Those Negro whisperers, you got to watch them. You got to run them out of your community.
Yeah.
You got to run them out. And until we do that, a majority of Black Americans in this country will perish. We will not be a group in the next 20 some odd years in this country.
So why do you think, man? So as a community and as a group of people, why is it that we keep doing the same thing, expecting different results? Maybe we don't expect different results. Maybe we are insane, because you have a man, and let's just deal with Biden real quick. You got a man that told you that you ain't Black unless you do this or do that. You have a man that basically came out and said that Black people are monolithic, Hispanics are not, that Black people don't know how to think for themselves. You have a man that basically tells you that you're going to do whatever I say and you're not going to do nothing about it. And this has been going on for decades. To me, it just seems like, to me, Kevin, when you have a person who has an independent thought and says, well, wait a minute, time out, flag on the field. How is my Blackness defined by what you say about me? First of all, what does that mean, you ain't Black? Why nobody push back on that? Why was it that when Charlemagne on the Breakfast Club let this man come up there and insult an entire group of people based on who to vote for, when his policies and what he wanted to bring, which he pretty much told us what he was going to do, Kevin. He told us what he was going to do. And I guess because we hated, we meaning just us in general, not specifically, we believe the lie of the media versus looking at this man's track record, who was a known racist, who Robert Byrd was his mentor. We still supported him because of what? I'm just not understanding the logic. And I'm talking about folk in church. Forget about folk outside. I'm talking about folk in church. I'm talking about people who boasted and bragged about voting for Biden, who talking about I'm riding with Biden, and now you can't find them. You can't find them nowhere.
Because they're embarrassed. But let me just say this to you. You brought up a lot there. But let me just say this to you. The reason why we do what we do is because we're in a dream spell. We forgot what Malcolm and Martin and all of our great leaders told us about the liberal class. We forgot it. And now there's the radical left, which is even worse.
Yes.
They're the worst people on earth. But let's get back to this whole narrative about, Biden. Biden is a segregationist.
Facts.
Every policy that he ever voted on was to impact Black Americans in a horrible way. Facts. Forget about the prison industrial complex. He has a repetitive record of voting against Black people.
Yep.
And the reason why Black people voted for him is because they're Negro whisperers and they slaves. And you know what? They can be upset all they want, because guess why I'm saying it? Because
Facts,
not one person that voted for him gave me a coherent argument outside of the fact we got to get rid of Trump. So now let me just tell you about that narrative. The reason why that narrative was so clever is because Black people need to be victims constantly. Now, I asked a question of all of the Black Americans that I know that was going around promoting this segregations. I said, when you support him now, you can't talk about race anymore.
At all.
When you support him now, you can't talk about systemic racism anymore. When you support him now, you can't talk about race ever again, because you put your power in place to vote for segregations. So now this is the second question I asked all of these people, the Negro whisperers. I call them the Negro whisperers.
That's good, man. I'm gonna borrow that.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a Republican, because I don't believe in any of the parties, but check this out.
Yeah.
Even if that's the case.
Right.
So let me ask you one question of you before I go further in my conversation. This is what I tell people.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tell me one public policy One, that Donald Trump passed that had a negative impact on Black Americans?
Crickets.
One, forget about your affiliation.
Yeah.
Forget about your delusional, state of mind. I'm talking about facts. One, you know what they say to me? Well, when he was young, his father discriminated. I said, wait a minute.
Come on.
I said, wait one damn minute. I asked you a very specific question. I'm a teacher. I asked you a very specific question. Tell me one public policy that he created that impacted Black Americans in a negative way since he's been the president. Then I flipped it.
Yeah.
Then I say, tell me one public policy that Barack Obama passed to advance Black America.
Ooh, you hit him right with hurt, bro. You heard him.
Well, let me tell you why I asked that question.
You heard him.
Because I'm a person that believes in logic.
Exactly.
I moved past emotionalism when I was 15 years old.
Exactly.
So I don't even base my decisions based on what? Logic, science, what I've read, how I've analyzed, where I've worked at, through my life experience. The Negro Whisperer is the worst Black American that we have in our midst. Guess what? Malcolm said it. Martin said it.
Yes, he did.
Wells said it. Paul Robeson said it. I can keep going down the line. Frederick Douglass said it.
Come on.
But every time I see Joe Biden do what he does, I smile. I say, God is great. I said, because now if you don't see who this guy is, and guess what? And all those mammies that are on the news, promoting that guy, call them all mammies, slave catchers, the mammies, well, let me tell you why I do that.
Come on, bro.
Let me tell you why I call them what I need to call them. Because if you don't identify them, you don't see them coming.
That's it.
You don't see them coming. When you see a Joy Reid pointing her finger at Nicki Minaj, I don't even know anything. Listen, I don't even know anything about. I don't even listen to music like that. But,
right.
But I got to give that girl credit.
Exactly.
I'm like, she had enough sense to say, "Oh hell no, something's wrong."
Yeah.
And for them to attack her because she dared question
a question,
bro. A question. And for that mammy, Joy Reid, to point her finger and say, "Young lady,"
and say she embarrassed. She's ashamed of her. I'm like, what?
What? That mammy's got to be stopped. And there's a lot of mammies. Wait a minute, though. It's just like this. Let me tell you about Georgia. I traveled. Listen, I told you. I think I told you. I've traveled now to 60 cities.
Yeah.
Maybe 39 states now.
Yeah,
I've talked to Middle America. I talked to the Heartland. I talked to the Midwest. I've talked to Urban America. I talked to Rural America. I've talked to them all. I've done a poll of America. Yeah. And I ain't running for office, by the way.
I hear you.
I'm fighting for my people. I'm fighting for their children also.
I hear you, bro.
What they're saying is, wait a minute. We're not racist. Wait a minute, Kevin. We're not saying any of that. I said, I know you're not racist. You know why I know you're not racist? I'm going to tell you why I'm not racist. Because you don't own anything. You're just like everybody else. You're trying to fight for your land, fight for your children, fight to educate. You got the same problems. I said the way they win is when they promote racism and you're against me and I'm against you. This is what I told everybody in the audience. This is what I tell them. We're all racist. And they're like, whoa. I said, yeah, I'm going to tell you why. Because you still identify me as a black man. I still identify you as a black woman, a white woman. We use all of the racist language to keep us separated.
Come on, man.
But this particular tyranny of our time, right? The corporation of white supremacy, they're sacrificing you. Now you know what the corporation of white supremacy look like. And it ain't being white.
Yeah, man.
It's not about being white. It's a structural system that wants to annihilate us, control us, monetize us, and destroy us when they think it's necessary because they want to displace God.
That's it.
They want to rewrite the language of faith.
Yeah.
They want to control our bodies. We are not supposed to be healthy, loving individuals that critically think.
That's right.
When we sent our kids off to these colleges, when we sent our kids off to these institutions, we failed them because we didn't teach them to critically think in our home. We didn't teach them to critically think in our communities. We didn't teach them to critically think in our churches. We didn't do a damn thing but destroy them. And now you're going to strap a mask on them. That look, you got parents walking with 4 kids and then with a mask on.
Yep.
That's slavery. That's called the mask of shame. They want to sequester your outrage. So when I hear people talk about race, and when I hear these mammies and Negro whisperers talking about race, I'm just stunned by it.
Wow.
I'm stunned. We just had an administration, 8 years of a black man, so-called black man,
right,
that never had a conversation with you.
Ever.
Never. And when anybody black out there talking about, well, what about Trump? I love it when I get into the Trump narrative. I said, well, why are you worried about it? Because he ain't fighting you, he fighting them. That's why they want him out. I said, that's why they want that guy out. I thought, look, I met Trump twice. I was a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I want you to know I'm a Democrat, right?
Okay.
But I'm not a dumb man. I'm a Democrat. I can throw that in the garbage. I don't use that as anything.
Right.
But the thing I find interesting about Black Americans, when you ask critical questions about their politics, they can't answer it. Because you know what? Their schools are still failing. You know what? Their kids are still chronically ill. You know what? We have more broken families than ever. You know what? We got more black people in politics, but we don't have black people in business. I'm saying real business.
Yeah, man.
So when I hear people say, well, we got to go support black businesses, I said, well, that's ridiculous. You should be supporting the business that supports you. So when you say black business, see, you got to understand when you say black business, that means marginalized business.
Yep.
That means no business. That means no access to income. Capital. That means all of that. That means redlining. When you say black business, black business is not distribution, ownership and none of that. So when you see people walking around and say, oh, you got to support black business, I said, what black business are you talking about?
Come on, man. Because
if you read enough in your lifetime, you understand when you characterize yourself like that, you now marginalize yourself.
Come on, man.
And that's the issue. And this is the question of this about health. Right now, as Black Americans, we need to take control of our health. That's why we created the Urban Global Health Alliance. What did I say? You asked me a question. Explain that to me. Our focus is to change the culture of health in America, in particular the Black community, through three areas: advocacy, education, and public policy. Now, when I say that, I mean that. That means that I'm going to go to every city, white and Black, and I'm going to educate them on this issue of race, educate them on this issue of health, educate them on the issue of freedom, educate them on the issue of informed consent, educate them on experimental biology. That's my job. That is my vocation. That is where I preach at. Yeah. And I'm going to preach the truth to my people because I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to warn you and explain to you death is at your door. Slavery is at your door. Yeah. You will not have control over your children. Look, in some cities in America, they're saying your kids don't need your permission to talk about anything. And I don't see any of our families down at the PTA and closing them schools down because we lost our God courage.
Yes, it.
You understand? We're not fighting for our own damn kids. Yeah. We're sitting around saying, what we going to do? What they going to do? Look what they doing in the paper. You know what? It's time for us to break the chains of victimhood. It's time for us to run these Negro whisperers out of our community. Yeah. It's time to take back our churches and turn them to what they are. Churches for change, churches for humanity, churches for all of the things that I grew up in the church and went to the mosque to understand. How to understand the power in me. Not to give them my power, but the power in me. And every time I see a Black American going around in a dream spell talking about Democrats and Republicans, I say, a slave. That's a slave right there. That's a slave. Free men don't talk like that. Free men navigate to the system. Free men build their own communities. Free men don't, this whole, this nationalistic Black power shit, excuse my language, right? I'm telling you right now, I grew up as a Pan-Africanist. I grew up studying under some of the greatest Black theologians and historians of our time, right? They told me to have power. That Black power is not the power that they taught me. They said, man, know thyself. Man, understand your history. Man, understand your value. Man, understand the economy and the world that you live in so you can help your people. Not use their slave narrative. I'm a minority. Not use their slave narrative. Oh, well, new Jim Crow. No, you don't get to talk about Jim Crow. And let me tell you what I mean by that. In Georgia, right now, there's this big debate about voter integrity. Yep. Okay, so now let's back up here because it's all interconnected. The health, the politics, the business, it all is. So now the argument is, well, Black people are stupid. We're not going to come with an ID. We're not going to come, and if we can't even spell our name, so they will not verify our signatures. Yeah. Think about this. That's crazy. So they're saying you got black people, the Negro whisperers, telling America black people too stupid to go and vote with an ID. But when they get on the plane, they vote with an they get on the plane with an ID.
Sure do.
When they go to the bank, they go with their ID.
Sure do.
When they go pick up their tickets at will call to go see a concert, they put their ID.
Sure do.
When they go to cash their checks at the check cashing place, they have an ID.
Yep.
They verify their signature. So are you saying? Then they're saying, well, some senior citizens won't have their ID. Well, see, that is what you call the term that I have for it. I just can't remember it, but I'm gonna leave it clean right now. But I had to stop myself right there because I don't want to get in trouble. But I got to tell you something. That is an abomination to even be. And then they're getting paid by the richest people in the world to promote that.
Yeah, man.
The new Jim Crow 21st century. No, the new Jim Crow is the fact that they're saying vaccinated, unvaccinated. They're putting us back in the unclean class because we choose not to take their experimental biologic.
Right. And they're doing it in New York right now. Since to my knowledge, I think it's like 27% of black people have taken the jab, but the rest have not.
Hey, so guess what? The 20% and 20% didn't take it. Okay. See, this is what they're trying to do. Here's what they're trying to do. If they say black Americans are 10%, only 10%, that means they can ratchet up their program to destroy us.
Okay.
Right? Take our jobs, take our public assistance. Because see, we poor. See, the problem is we've been playing poor so long, it's catching up with us now. We've been playing victims so long, it's catching up with us now.
Right.
Johns Hopkins, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, all of them have been writing documents on how to manipulate black Americans to take an experimental biologic to participate in their own depopulation and homicide.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And if black Americans, well, maybe these new wave black Americans don't understand that. So Seiko, it's our responsibility to explain that we're not going down like that.
Right.
Any black entertainer that has taken this experimental biologic and is taking the money, we should stop feeding them.
And
you got black young Americans
practically do that. Let's do the practicality.
Here's how you do it. You stop buying their stuff.
Exactly.
You mark them for who they are.
Yep.
Like we're not going to that. We're not doing that.
Right.
We're not going to be a part of that.
Right.
Look, I'm going to go and download Nicki Minaj a thing. I don't even know what it is. I couldn't tell you. My sister was like, Kev, you don't know anything about Nicki Minaj. I said, I don't, I'm like that. But people that are just asking questions, I'm going to support them. Because I support free thinkers, critical thinkers.
Right.
And every black man and every black woman that has ever stood up against tyranny, right? I want to remind you of this. Their first problem was not the white American, it was the black American.
Yep. That's true. That is definitely true. No argument, and because it's a historical fact. I mean, it's a fact. You had Malcolm, you had Martin. They was asking questions, and who turned on them? Those in the church. Like, oh no, he being too.
Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam, all of the great organizations of our time that talked about not empowering but using your power. See, I don't use the word empower. I do not use it because I have power. I am powerful on the spiritual level, right, and on the physical level. Black Americans have gotten away from that. We've gotten away from that. We have to find ourselves again. We have to define what it means to be black, not what they're telling us, how they're telling us to be black. Take off the mask of shame, go back home and start to reconfigure your life. How are you going to eat to live? How are you going to take the right therapeutics? How are you going to protect your body from the big pharma cartel? How are you going to turn off your TV and stop being brainwashed by big pharma news? How are you going to stop buying the New York Times that's lying to you every day? Stop buying the Atlantic that's lying to you every day. Stop listening to NBC. Stop listening to Fox. Turn off your brain and go study about how to live and rebuild your new world for yourself. This is the only moment we will be able to do this now.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about a company, think about the right kind of company.
Yeah.
How do we grow our food now? When you're thinking about a company, think about how you're traveling. I'm a partner of Freedom Travel Alliance. Everybody should go on and become a member. We're right now doing a capital raise of $14 million to buy our own planes. So you won't be masked, so you won't be injected, and you will not be tested.
Wow.
So I'm not waiting. We're not waiting around. We're not waiting around for them to enslave us. We're going to build a new world. And it's time for Black Americans to build a new world.
Well, it's not like we can't. It's not like I was listening to I was reading a report from Walter Williams before he had passed.
Yeah, Walter Williams was a great Walter Williams.
Yeah. He talked about the buying power just on the Black community alone. He said if we were to just start our own nation, I mean, I'm not advocating, I'm just saying, just if we were to start our own nation, just based on our own buying power, we'd be number 16, I believe he said, in the world. Just
yeah, but I know. But he's saying something too. We have to like watch what we're saying. When people say that we have buying power, I'm always I back up from that because that means we're still consumers. I understand what he's saying in the aggregate.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't want to be buyers. We don't want to be consumers. We want to own.
Right.
So we've got away from the science of ownership.
Got you.
Because you know what? We got to go work in their factories. We got to go work in their banks. We got to work in this. But we forgot about the blueprint that was left for us coming out of the early 1800s during Reconstruction. They gave us the blueprint.
Yeah.
You know what the first thing the African slave did when he was freed? Now, the first thing he did, not only the first thing he did was to go look for his loved ones, but the first thing he really did, or they did, was create schools because they wanted to be literate.
Yeah.
After that, you know what they did? Because they were the most skilled people on the planet. They built their own churches, built their own roads, built their own schools, built a moral code in their community that they understood who God was and what family was and what the man was and what the wife was.
Yeah.
You understand that? So I can't understand how Black women and Black men will tell me, well, I'm going to let my kid be whatever it wants to be. I'm like, what?
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, but see, that's a part of the system. That's a part of the game.
Yeah.
And we're so brainwashed. We don't understand that they're trying to break the backs of masculinity, Black masculinity. But now they're telling them the prisoners in prison, we're going to let you out. As long as you take this experimental biologic, we're going to cut your time down. Because we want you to go back home in your community and have sex with your women. And we want you to share this spike protein, this mRNA. And we want you to participate in the homicide of your own people because you're weak, because you're lazy, because you're not paying attention, because you like to be bamboozled. You like to listen to the Negro whispers. You like not to own anything. You like to play victim 24 hours a day.
Yep.
Now, some people will listen to this and say, oh my God, heaven is so harsh. Well, I have the right to be harsh because I live in a Black community. I've invested in the Black community. I've built the Black community. I'm grounded in my Blackness. And I got to deal with my issues at home before I deal with some issues someplace else.
That's real.
Come on, cut the bull crap. Cut the bull crap. You're running around here right now with a mask on saying that they told me to wear it. You're going around right now taking experimental biologic because they told you it was safe, not understanding the history, not understanding what medical apartheid is, not understanding what real racism is, not understanding what institutional racism is, not understanding any of it because we've become a lazy people. And we're talking about Christ without even understanding the power of Christ.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem where I'm looking at what you was mentioning. So for instance, we're talking about this experimental biologic. Bill Gates is on record. I mean, you can just go to Rumble and you can see what he said. He said it right there, bro. It's like, bro, if you needed a smoking gun, he gave it to you when he was on TED Talks and said, one of the ways we can reduce the population to 10 to 15%, I believe he said was. One of the ways he said was through reproductive. He called it reproductive health. That's abortion, murdering your own babies. The second he said was, here it is, ladies and gentlemen, vaccines. He said it out of his own mouth. Yeah. I mean, bro, it's like, bro. And so you got people that's supporting an agenda that's killing off their own. And listen, it ain't like nobody's coming to your house, kicking down your door, Kevin, putting a gun to your head and telling you to off your kids. We're walking our seed to these murder factories and we're offing them. Or we're injecting. And here's another thing. They're saying it. They're saying that this is not safe. Matter of fact, so unsafe to whereas they tell you and I, oh, we're not taking any responsibility for it if you experience any adverse reactions, any adverse effects to this chemical that we're going to inject into your system. And so now, this is just me. You lose all kind of logic or cognitive dissonance if you are agreeing to take something and the only person that stands to lose is the one taking it. You're talking about a win-lose. That is true. That they win it and you losing. That makes no sense to me. But people are doing it, and like you said, we have our own in the community. You listen. You got people giving you $100. That's why I read that medical apartheid book, the section of that. $100. You got rappers doing videos talking about vax, not back, vax that thing up. White people are basically having our people, which basically, like you said, the sellouts are really them. Those are the real sellouts. They're the ones that's basically the Judas sheep. They're leading our people to the slaughter, bro.
Well, you said something about white people, and I'm going to say something to you because I have to run because I'm speaking today. But let me just say something to you. When I tell you I went to the Heartland, I tell you I actually went on a tour bus with my picture on it. So that's kind of crazy. That's like I wasn't used to that. I don't understand the concept of that. But as I was going through the country, and as I was talking to these people, because every day at 5 o'clock, I had maybe 2,000, 1,000, 900. I spoke to every day. I got on the stage and talked to people.
Yeah.
And white people, regular white people that are trying to till their land and raise their children,
just trying to live.
They don't want any parts of this.
Right.
Now, the elite white people that have taken advantage of black people because we've allowed them to, right, have now mastered how to deal with black people. And let me sure have.
Come on.
They say, well, we agree. We actually agree that, race is a problem. We do. This is what I tell the white people, my white friends in the Midwest. I say, now, this is what they do. It's really beautiful, though. The white people that are directly the institutional leaders and corporate leaders and government leaders and the global titans that are responsible for advancing the destruction of humanity. Let's stay right there. Humanity, not black people, white people, purple, humanity.
Global,
that's what they're engaged in. What they're saying to black people, you know what? I hear you. Race has been a problem. And you know what unintelligent black people do? Oh, you finally figured it out. Yeah, we with you. We actually understand who the real problem is. Oh, it's those white people over there. Those are the white people that are the problem. Check out the science now.
Yeah.
Check it out. So now, black people, the Negro whisperers, the people that don't know that I call them the new wave Negroes.
Yeah.
Right? They say that's right. Those people down in Montana, those people down in Nebraska, those people down in Alabama, those people, they're our enemy. They with Trump. See, what they don't understand is that was the biggest psyop ever. And now they got black Negro whispers on TV and entertainment class and intellectual class, pseudo-intellectual class, promoting that narrative.
That's it.
New Jim Crow 2.0. All of this nonsense. No, Jim Crow ain't no new 0.0. Well, let me tell you what Jim Crow is. Vaccinated, unvaccinated, clean, unclean, discrimination, segregation, racism. That's what that is. And anybody that's promoting that those white people are against you, how do you know? Check this out. How do you know? Did you talk to them?
Come on.
Did you have a conversation with them? Did you go to their churches and talk to them? Did you go to their ranches and talk to them? Did you go to their 4-H camps and talk to them? How do you know? And on the white side, white people, how do you know black people don't like you, think you're racist? Because the construct of race wasn't created by any group. It was created by the same tyrannical people that we're dealing with now.
Exactly.
So I can't believe black people at my age. I'm 58 years old. I've been married 28 years. I have 2 lovely daughters, 2 lovely grandsons. And guess what? My family, we ain't buying that. See, we raised our family and educated our family about what it really means to be black.
Right.
And black doesn't mean victimhood and failure.
Right.
It means power. And I'm so sick and tired of black Americans, those Negro whisperers, pushing victimhood. We should push back on that.
Exactly.
Now, on the issue of the experimental biologic, I cannot tell you what to do. But I can give you the information to save your life.
That's all we can do. That's it.
Now, if you choose to be a part of the Fauci cult, the one that killed millions and millions of black men during the AIDS epidemic, millions of black people during SARS. I mean, this guy is a mass murderer.
Facts.
The guy that's in charge of the World Health Organization,
same thing.
that guy committed genocide on his own people. the CDC, the FDA, OSHA, all of these regulatory agencies have been captured and paid off. Majority of your top universities in this country that are pushing mandated experimental biologics, they all been brought off. Your HBCUs,
come on, man,
are turning our black kids into an experimental class because they're taking money from Bill Gates for their schools because they're too lazy to create the right economic model to empower those institutions.
Even some of those,
so we're gonna have a bunch of sick kids leaving those colleges that are going to turn on us because they don't have a sense of self.
Even some of these black pastors, even like Paul Morton, you got him out there in Louisiana telling people that if they don't have the papers, if they ain't got them slave acts papers, you can't come in to quote unquote worship, but we want them tithes though.
Listen, let me say something to you. I don't know who that pastor is. I can't tell y'all what to do, but whoever goes into that church,
man, come on, man.
We need to give them all T-shirts out. How does it feel to be a slave?
Come on, bro.
How does it feel to accept slavery again? And all of those people in the Midwest, in the heartland, they're not going to be a slave.
Right.
They're like, oh, hell no, we're not doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's this whole white and black thing. No, see, there's a unification happening in this country. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I know that to be true. I am on the disinformation list. I've probably been all over the world. They say I'm the most horrible person on earth. Me and
you one of the 12, right? You one of the 12?
I'm one of the 12. So
one of the 12 disciples. I'm gonna call y'all the disinformation disciples.
Yeah, right. Thank you for that. So let me tell you how funny this is.
Yeah.
I only had 3,000 Facebook friends. I only had maybe 808 Twitter friends. I just got up to 7,000 Instagram friends. I'm trying to make a point here.
Gotcha.
And they put me on the disinformation list. Now, I don't have a big social media platform, but I've traveled all over the country. I've been everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But think about this for a half of a second. They said that the 12 people literally control 62% of disinformation, never qualifying what the disinformation was. But I told a crowd, I think I told a crowd in Beaver, Pennsylvania, when I was speaking in front of them. I said, let me tell y'all something. I'm so proud to be on that list. Man, every time I cheer it up. I'm like, great. I must be doing something great for my people and the people of this country and the people of this world. I said, but let me tell you why I'm on that list. If I was in Newark, New Jersey on the corner saying what I'm saying now, they wouldn't pay attention to me. I said, but I'm talking to white people, so they're paying attention to me. They saying, oh, shucks. He ain't talking to them over there on the corner. Yeah. He in Texas. He in Montana. He in Detroit. He in Chicago.
It was okay. You talking about Pookie. You was talking to Pookie. You was good. But you talking about Peter and them? Oh, no.
Right? Right? So think about it. So what happened with Malcolm? When Malcolm went to Africa, he became the black man's diplomat. He said, I'm going to expand my horizon. I'm going to globalize our fight. I'm going to go and talk to the African, talk to the Arab, talk to displaced all around the country. That's when he became a problem.
Right.
When Martin said, wait a minute, it was not about the war. He said, listen, I want black Americans to have not just economic opportunity, but real economic parity. And we need to talk about the war on poverty, but not from the perspective that people thought. He said economics is the next driving force for the power of black Americans in this country. Yeah. What did they do? See, when he started having that conversation and speaking and joining hands with white people, he became a threat.
Exactly.
When Elijah Muhammad said, I'm going to build my own schools, we're going to keep families together, we're going to have discipline, whether you like them or not.
Right.
Right? We had no broken families. We were eating healthy foods. We were doing this. Guess what? They were a problem.
Yep.
When Dr. Henry Clark, Dr. Van Sertima, Dr. Scobie, Dr. Jeffries, all of the great theologians and great thinkers of our time started to teach us about man, know thyself and who we really were. Hey, they can't teach at universities no more. We want the people. We want those black kids to be indoctrinated with fear. We don't want to teach them their real history. We don't want because guess what? We shouldn't be looking for them to teach us our own history anyway. We should be teaching our own kids our history.
That's it.
Now I'm gonna tell you a story before I go.
All right.
Because I'm gonna get in trouble.
Go ahead, bro.
I want everybody that's listening, and if you could just wrap your head around this for a moment. Understand that your fear is going to be directly the cause of your death.
Mm.
And you don't have the right to be fearful because there's so many people that fought for us to be free.
That's good,
but
man.
If you don't do this for your children, our children should not have to live in bondage because we live in fear, because we lost our God consciousness and that we don't see God's face for the right answers. And I got to tell you, I'm very serious about this. If we allow them to destroy our children, shame on us. We should be wiped out. And for every black man and black woman that's sitting around their table right now trying to figure out what's going on, well, something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not here to make you feel good.
No, that's facts. That's facts.
I have a 16-year-old grandson, right? 16-year-old.
Yeah.
He went out and got a part-time job. I was very proud of him. I said, that's great, son. You got a part-time job. Granddad, you know, I wanted to make a little money. He's a very smart kid. I mean, my grandkids are just lovely. And I'm tough on him, by the way. I'm tough on my grandkids.
Absolutely.
But his boss came to him and said, hey, listen, you can't work anymore if you don't get a vaccine. Now, my grandson's 16 years old.
Wow, bro.
Well, he's talking to my 16-year-old grandson without talking to his parents, his mother and father. Because he has a mother and father.
Ain't that rare? Ain't that rare?
Mother and father.
yeah.
Mother and father. Now, when did that become abnormal in our community? That's another discussion for another day.
Yeah, we'll bring you back on that one. Yeah.
So now my grandson looks at this man and tells him, oh, no, I will not do that. My family does not believe in that. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you shouldn't be telling me that because you should be telling my parents that. And by the way, I'm not working anymore because I believe in my body autonomy. This is my 16-year-old.
So you taught him right, bro.
So I'm away out of town. My daughter says, well, granddad, you know, your grandson lost his job today. I said, oh, really? I said, okay, well, it's a part-time job. Stuff like that happens.
Right.
I said, well, why did he lose it? He said, because his boss told him he had to take an experimental biologic. A 16-year-old, right? Or he couldn't work anymore. My grandson stood up to him.
That's right.
My grandson, oh, no, you won't. I'm not doing that. Now, my 16-year-old.
Come on,
I
man.
had no idea, Seiko, they was listening to me.
See there? You never know, bro. You never know.
He says to me, Granddad, I read all your stuff. Granddad, I watch you all the time. I said, really? Because I keep my kids away. I protect them.
Yeah. Right.
So I said to them, you do? He said, Grandpa, I knew that was garbage. I didn't care about that. I'll just go get another job. I said, no, I got one better for you. You ain't got to worry about that. What were they paying you a week? Right? He said, this one. I called a friend of mine. I said, pay my grandson that a week to come and file your papers. He said, Kevin, done.
Wow. That's what's up.
Job back like that.
That's what's up.
Right? Now, we're supposed to be doing that. We have to do that.
That's right.
Now, you know what we're doing? We're telling our kids, well, don't push back. Don't say anything. Just comply. Just follow the rules. Who rules are you talking about?
Come on, man. Come on.
Seiko, I love you. I got to go.
Man, I appreciate it, man. And listen, I'm glad that we was able to click up and connect. Shout out to my sister April Chapman for making this thing happen.
You know, April, let me tell you something. April is one of the baddest women in this country, man.
Oh, bro, I know. Bro, listen, I'm grateful to God, man, that I was able to just have conversation. I've been knowing this girl, man, for a few years now. Matter of fact, I think since maybe 2010, 12. I think she'll tell me. But nonetheless, man, this sister's an asset. What she brings to the table, how she's able to just connect people for the overall purpose of raising awareness and challenging how we think. You know what I'm saying? And not just as Black people, but just as all people. Listen. The enemy wants us to think real quick. The enemy wants us to think that it's us against them. And I'm talking about them meaning white people. No. That ain't the enemy. That ain't the enemy.
That's right.
If you are a Christian, the enemy of our souls is the one that's trying to send us to hell. The one that's trying to destroy and divide. So when we understand number one, that our purpose is to present truth. And as a believer in Christ, I want to present the gospel. I want to present Christ to people. But at the same time, what's the purpose of being a Christian if I'm ignorant? What's the purpose of me being a Christian if I don't know how to serve and come alongside and use what God has given to me to be a blessing to other people? You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate my sister, man, because again, it allowed us to click up. It allowed us to be able to connect, man. And I'm looking forward, man, for you and I to even offline, man, to just to build and connect even more, man.
Well, I hope I was helpful. I hope I was helpful.
Oh, no doubt.
But I want to put 3 books out there real fast.
All right.
It's up in front. It's right here. So I'm looking up.
Okay. Ready. What you got?
There's a book called Histories of Racial Capitalism.
Who's the author?
Jenkins / Leroy. There's 2 authors.
Okay, and Leroy, Leroy?
Leroy, yes. Leroy.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's one. All right.
Okay, the second book is Deadly Monopolies. By Harriet A. Washington.
Oh, okay. Same one that wrote the medical apartheid. Okay.
Yep, same one. And the other one that I want you to read is the Negro Project. You have that one, right?
Yeah, I put that up earlier.
Okay, now here's 2 books about what's happened in the prisons across America. The Against Their Will. Against Their Will.
Okay.
And I'm gonna give you the first author's name, Alan M. Hornblum. Hornblum. Alan M. Hornblum.
Okay, what's the last name again?
Hornblum.
N-O-M as in Mike.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And the other book is called Acres of Skin. By the same author, Acres of Skin.
Okay.
All right, because see, I believe people need to have references, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, now this is the book that's going to blow your mind. That a lot of people can't get it, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's a classic reprint series.
All right.
Vaccination.
Okay.
Comma. A curse and a menace to personal liberty.
Whew.
Now, this book was written in the 30s.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and it says with statistics showing its dangers and criminality. That's the sub of the book. Subtitle.
Okay.
Book. It says with statistics showing its dangers and criminality. So what you're going to see when you read these books is a correlation of, because I want to start there. I want to start with those books.
Right.
I want you to understand the horror. I want you to understand how they've been profiting off us, all of us. And when you ask questions about autism and obesity and chronic illness and all those things, understand it directly correlates to everything you were saying about medical apartheid, everything we're saying about medical racism. And I want you to come and join me at Urban Global Health Alliance. Please come in and support us at Urban Global Health Alliance. And I want you to become members of Freedom Travel Alliance, because that company is growing quickly. And then I want you to put up there medical racism. You know, I'm a producer of Medical Racism with Bobby Kennedy.
Man, boy, all right, you already know. We already talked about that.
I talked about that. Medical racism. I produced a documentary with several other people called Medical Racism. Go on medicalracism.org. Okay,
medicalracism.org. Gotcha.
And please join us at Freedom Travel Alliance. But now I'm going to send you more books.
Yes, sir.
And because I have so many of them, I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I know. And what was it called? Freedom what?
Freedom Travel Alliance.
Okay. All right.
We love your support. We want you to become members because we're not playing around.
Oh,
so
man,
now I got to go over to the city. You got me heated up, so I'm gonna do a good job today.
My man, look here, man. I appreciate the time. We're definitely gonna connect soon. And man, God bless you, my man. Appreciate you, Doc.
Hey, listen, man. We're gonna be friends for life, man. I appreciate you for allowing me to share your platform.
Not a problem, man. You take care of yourself, man. Bless you and the family.
Okay, buddy.
All right, Doc. All right, later. All right, y'all. I just wanted to put this information out because I think it was very important for us to have this discussion. I purposely did not mention his name because of obvious reasons. As you can see, him being one of the 12 disinformation disciples So hopefully you all will be able to get the information, get the books that you'll be able to read them. Definitely, it'll be a help to you. Medical apartheid. I actually, and I must say this to my own shame, because I'm a book hoarder. I'm a book hoarder. What you see behind my head is not all that I have, but nonetheless, I bought Medical Apartheid years ago. Matter of fact, in 2015, and didn't even crack open the book at the time. And I think it was God's providence that all of these situations and occurrences had happened to where I was able to go through my, Kindle library, and it was sitting right there. And then I looked at the purchase date, and I purchased it July 6th of 2015. So 6 years ago, I had the book, and but I ended up also getting the Audible, because I do a lot of driving. My wife and I are always on the go. And so I wanted my wife to be informed as well as I am. Now, let me say this before I let you go. If you are married, you and particularly men, husbands, whatever information you get, you should also make sure that your wives get that information too. You want your wives, you want your spouses to be just as informed as you are, because they're the ones that's going to be teaching your children if you have children. But nonetheless, you want to build and have that same understanding for y'all to be on the same level of information, where you can make educated decisions, because it makes no sense. I know a lot of couples are divided over this issue because one person is not informed and the other one is. And as Christians, God says he does not want us to be ignorant. Ignorance is not bliss. Okay. Ignorance is definitely something that can get you and I hurt and get you and I killed, and can harm others. So I just want to encourage those of you who are watching this live. And again, my apologies to those who are in Facebook that were not able to jump in on this live. Hopefully when I come on again at 7:30, because I did make the time change for the second live that I'll be doing this evening, hopefully Facebook won't be tripping on that. And we'll be able to have both platforms, both streams, to be able to go live when I have my other guests on this evening. But I definitely appreciate Kevin Jenkins for coming on, taking time out of his schedule to have this dialogue and this discussion, because it was definitely important, and I definitely appreciate it, and I hope you all were blessed by it as well too. So anyway, again, if you'd like to support this ministry financially, first of all, don't go through YouTube. Don't use the super chat anymore. Matter of fact, I would discourage any of y'all from using super chat, because number one, the resources and the funds don't get sent to me until the following month. Also, at the same time, if I am deplatformed or if I am demonetized, then none of that goes to me anyway. So if you want to use the three means of supporting what we do here, you can do it through PayPal, which is under my email, SaikoWoods@yahoo.com. You can also use Cash App, dollar or money sign, Saiko, Saiko, Woods with an S, or you can use Zelle, Zelle, the Zelle app. You can use those three apps, those three means of funding and donating to this ministry here. So again, I do appreciate you all. Thank you so much for joining this live. Come back with me and join us again tonight at 7:30 Central Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern. I had to move it to a later time slot because one of my guests had a prior engagement, and I wanted to make sure that they would be able to attend. So we bumped it up to 7:30 instead of 5 o'clock Eastern. So I'm going to let Ruslan stay in the oven a little bit longer, let him cook. So that way he'd be ready to be served up at 7:30. And so we're going to be discussing the danger and the recklessness of Ruslan. So hopefully you all are ready to eat at 7:30, because it's going to be a feast. We're going to cook them up and serve them up and let people know how to deal with those who are reckless and using their platforms to be reckless amongst the saints. So anyway, thank you all for your time. I appreciate everyone. Love you guys. And y'all know the drill. Whatever you do, do all to the glory and honor of God. God bless.